go.
Welcome to Dorks on Sports, a podcast about four dorks talking about sports. My name is Daniel. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being a part of the program. We're doing a kind of a format shift. We're trying a new format. We're trying this thing on Fridays now for a bit. I don't know. We're seeing how this podcast goes, what moves, what works. So Fridays from now on, instead of the normal Wednesdays. Joining me as always is Curtis Eastwood. Curtis, how are you doing over there?
I'm doing great.
Yeah. Are you sure about that?
I'm positive.
All right. Good. We have Alana over there.
I'm feeling a little iffy, but I'll make it. You should tell the people why we're shifting to Friday. Do a little self-promotion.
I don't like to brag.
You don't.
That's not true. That's not true. I love to brag.
But you gotta do.
The reason we're shifting to Friday is because I have started rehearsals for an actual real life theater event for a show that I was supposed to start rehearsals for 2 years ago when literally the week we went into shelter in place. Fingers crossed, Omicron variant willing, will actually be able to perform this thing at the end of January, and that would be really cool. The play is Copenhagen by Michael Frayn, and it is going to be at Second Story Repertory. I think it's January 23rd. I think is when it opens, and it runs for like 3 weeks through February. And I know that last date because it is the weekend before the Super Bowl, and that's why I agreed to these dates. So
it's really weird that somebody would write a play about chewing tobacco.
Yeah.
I was just thinking it's weird that somebody would write a play about Denmark.
Yeah.
Is that what it's about?
It's about three guys sitting on stage chewing Copenhagen in Copenhagen.
And talking about nuclear power, yes.
and talking about the atom bomb and nuclear science, yes. Last but not least, we got Millie over here. And Millie, I have some bad news for you.
What's that?
Your pocket locket is not going to make it Sunday.
Oh, no, you might.
Well, we don't know officially yet.
COVID variant.
The protocols.
He has fallen victim.
Look, there is a very teeny tiny chance he could play, but
and you know who's teeny tiny?
Russell Wilson.
Tyler Lockett.
Little tiny pocket locket. He has a teeny tiny chance of being a teeny tiny receiver on Sunday.
That's true. If he gets 2 negative tests in a row.
Yes. If there's even a game, because the Rams could just
because the Rams are now down like 53 people. Are they fielding anybody? I think they're bringing in like McVay's grandma. I heard she's starting center. That's what I heard. That's through the grapevine.
But she's sick, so.
Breaking news: McVay's grandma just came down with COVID. All right, and you know how they got COVID? They went to Houston, and they whooped the crap out of those Texans who were just no masking protocols. It's Texas. Nobody's wearing a mask. The virus is running rampant. And Seattle came down with a couple, Alex Collins and Pocket Lockett, which is bad news because the other receivers on the team are all hobbled. I'm sure they're going to play. I'm pretty sure DK and Swain at least are going to play, but all DK, Swain, and
Eskridge going to play.
Eskridge all ended up on the did not practice report. And
yeah, they kind of. I'm not too concerned about it on Wednesday. What was today's report? Was that like did not practice?
I think what I read was Wednesday's report, so I'm not sure what today's was. Yeah.
I get more nervous when I start to see it on Thursday and Friday, not practice.
Right.
Yeah.
So does that mean this is the big game for Adrian Peterson?
Well, I think Penny is getting his shots. Adrian Peterson will probably dress unless Grandpa hasn't hurt his hip yet. But speaking of Penny, finally, after I don't know, when did we draft him? 3 years ago? He finally looked like the quarterback we wanted when we drafted him number one in the first round.
running back.
Running back.
What did I say?
Quarterback.
I said quarterback. I
Yeah.
don't know. I think I have COVID. I don't know.
But thank goodness he's the quarterback we always want.
Why not give Penny a shot at quarterback? I'd like to see that happen.
I don't know. They got this number 3 guy that plays pretty well, though.
He did play.
I don't know.
Some of those moon balls.
They're all the same height, No.
Right. I don't know, but Penny, man, 2 touchdowns, 100, I don't know what, 140 yards. Yeah, almost that on the ground.
On 16 carries, I think.
Yeah, on 16 carries. Absolutely ridiculous. A lot of, what did you think about that?
I just thought it was great. It's a redemption story, right? Like, and I think one of the main things that I really liked about the conversation that was being had on sports radio this week was that we don't know we brought in Adrian Peterson. He's one of the GOATs at the running back position. He's a player that a lot of players who are young in the NFL at the running back position right now look up to and respect. And we brought him into that running back room. We don't necessarily know the impact he's had on the coaches, on the players, on the run game, outside of just picking up yards and touchdowns. So I really think that, and I don't think it's a lie to think that Penny may have in part modeled his game after AP. I think that they have some similar strengths and similar skill sets. So knowing that somebody he respects and somebody that he values as a player is in the room with him, is taking snaps with him, is giving him little pointers here and there about different ways to play the game. I think that had an immense effect on Penny. We saw him in his rookie year against the Eagles and against the Patriots just blow the lid off in a couple of months and just get huge runs and just have really great games. And then there were those flashes of potential 4 years ago, and seeing it again after he was just so left behind and forgotten I thought it was a really meaningful game in that regard. And it's a reminder that all of these athletes are the best in the world, right?
Right. Yes.
Even though we talk about it, we spend so much time talking about how Penny was a wasted draft pick. So much of his lack of progress in the time that he's been in the NFL has been because of injury. 100%. And they're not it's not like, oh, it's because you've got a bad ankle injury. He's injured all different kinds of his body, all different parts of his body. And at some point, I feel like that's just had to chip away at his confidence.
Yeah.
And now here he is, and he's able to step up, and he's able to go against, the team with the worst run defense in the NFL. For sure. But the amount of confidence that comes from a game like that, I think it's a perfect timing. I feel really, really happy for the guy.
I agree. Number one, I think you bring up a great point about the veteran presence in a locker room, a leadership presence of somebody like Adrian Peterson, where, the few snaps that he had as a Seahawk a couple games ago, his stats didn't look great. He averaged like 1.8 yards a carry or something like that, but that's not why we brought him in. He ran hard. I mean, every yard he got in that game, he earned. And you saw that in the touchdown that he had. And like Marshawn Lynch, when we brought him out of retirement for a postseason run, similarly, he had his presence had an effect on that locker room. And and many of the young running backs pointed that out, that even on the sidelines, Marshawn Lynch is giving him the little pointers and, talking him up and giving him the pep talks. And I have to imagine Adrian Peterson was doing the same thing. He wasn't dressed, but he was still on the sideline. He traveled with the team. I think that's pretty cool. I like it. I thought that win was weird. It was a blowout, but it kind of felt like a blowout, but it kind of didn't feel like was this, like a mirage? I don't know. What I do know is that a win like that gives a team confidence. And now I think this is the first time this season the Seahawks have put 2 wins together in a row. I think that can give a team a boost, and also seeing their, all-pro quarterback finally starting to play like the guy we know, give him a little confidence going into a game, against the division rival Rams. So, Curtis, before we get to predictions, what are the Seahawks' chances here going into this game?
Man, I've been going back and forth with it in my mind. Initially, on Monday, I didn't think it was good. And then all this, all these Rams players just started going on this humongous COVID list.
Right, including their number one running back Henderson.
What's that?
And including their number 1 running back Henderson.
Yeah.
And their number 2 wide receiver OBJ.
Von Miller's
now out.
Joseph Sebastian, the real good defensive tackle that they got. Sebastian Day. Yeah, he's really good. He's somebody I'd love the Seahawks to try and land in free agency. The thing is, I started to sort of gain a little bit more confidence in it. And then this whole thing with Tyler coming down on the COVID list. And it's been sort of my observation over the last stretch of games where Russ has really picked his game up, is I think that he has gone back to what he knows best. And that's that mind meld with Lockett. I think Russ is a type of quarterback that plays to a degree a sort of risk adverse sort of game, and he won't. I don't think he is as comfortable with other receivers on that roster right now as he is with Tyler. And I think after the Washington game, you really saw him going, okay, I'm not going to force DK the ball, and I'm going to, we're going to get back into what our DNA is. And
right.
A lot of it really is his ability to throw on the run in the scramble drill. And it takes a receiver with incredible agility and instincts and all the sort of the gifts that Tyler has, I think, to play along with him. I mean, Baldwin did it tremendously.
Baldwin had
back
that
in the
too,
day,
yeah.
and Hurst did it really well, and Tate, and all those guys. And all these guys were sort of like smaller receivers, right? They're not like these 6'4", guys. So I just don't know.
Guys, right?
I don't know if DK has the ability to do the sandlot to the degree that Tyler does, and I think they're going to need that in this game. So I'm a little bit more nervous about.
I agree with you. Before it came out that Tyler went down with COVID, my key to the game was it has to be the Wilson and Lockett show. That's what's going to win us this game. It's going to be like
that's
those
what they got to ride.
Yeah, it's going to be those 3 pretty moon balls that Wilson can hit to Tyler Lockett, to put the game away. I don't know if we have that. I like the tight ends, and I think that this is a game the Seahawks can win if they wanted to dink and dunk it. I just don't know if that's Russell's game.
Well, and the Rams offense, the Rams defense this year they've got a different defensive coordinator, and they used to do a lot more man and then like sort of pressure type packages in previous years, but in this year they play a little bit more softer underneath. So they invite the run, and they invite the short passes, in the hopes that, eventually at some point, you're inaccurate, you make a mistake, sort of thing like that. So there will be opportunities for Everett and Disley and, the running backs, and, maybe, Eskridge to get, the quick underneath stuff. It's just more of like, if Tyler's not on the field, DK is going to draw a lot of attention, from the defensive backs. And then, is Russ going to be able to trust the players that aren't DK? So
I know. And I think this is an opportunity for Seattle to kind of unleash DJ Dallas as a pass catching running back.
Yeah.
And I'd really like to see that. Millie, what do you think going into this game? What are the keys to the game? How can the Seahawks beat the Rams, or can they?
I think so much is going to come down to where we're at come Sunday. Because for me, a lot of what happens for both of these teams has so much to do with how you can scout it and watching the film and doing the homework. And it's really hard to do when you don't know who you're playing with and who you're playing against.
Yeah.
So this does become, in some ways, it doesn't truly become a sandlot kind of game, because you're just going to go out there and play the best football you can with what you got. So this could be a total scrap fest. I did just look something up because I wanted to be as up to date as possible. And they did change the protocol rules today because so many people are testing positive. And here's what it is now. For fully vaccinated players, you can test out of COVID-19 protocols and return from quarantine quicker if you are fully vaccinated and asymptomatic for at least 24 hours. You can return from quarantine as soon as the day after your initial positive test. Which is enough to say if you're vaccinated and you feel fine, and you could come back. I'm not sure that's real smart.
Oh God, this feels like a slippery slope.
Right?
I don't like this at all.
Because nothing in here indicates that you need a negative test.
I have to tell you, it feels to me like those protocols are being relaxed because so many people are going down, and the owners are looking at the prospect of losing a lot of money.
Came from the NFLPA. This is not an owner's system.
This is the players.
This is players.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
So
players are millionaires too, and they're they're
We
looking
will
at
see
bonus checks and all that
where we end up on Sunday as far as who the players are. I also have an updated list of who's out on the Rams, and it also includes Jalen Ramsey.
Wow.
And starting
DK
offensive lineman Rob Havenstein, starting safety Jordan Fuller.
Wow.
Okonkwo.
Linebackers, Reader, Okoronkwo, and Rose Boom, Bobby Evans. They're all starters. I mean, they are in serious trouble. They're not going to get everyone back. We are just starting, unfortunately, if we have two of those players who are positive. So we'll see where we're at on Sunday, which means this is a scrappy game. And where I'm going with all of that is, it just comes down to, I think, a little bit who wants it more and who's prepared to just play scrappy. And I feel like the Seahawks are a little more on the scrappy side right now. I think we really enjoyed winning these two games with nothing to lose. I know there's still a small chance we could get into the playoffs, and that's, I'm sure that's on their minds. But I also think that a lot of it is just, it's all or nothing. When it's that small of a chance, you leave it all out on the field, and you're just going to play as hard as you can, because you're also playing to be on the team next year at this point.
Yeah. Or with, we have a bunch of talented players who are going into free agency. So you're also, playing for your resume. Quandre Diggs wants that payday, and he didn't get it from Seattle this season. And I think he sees his stock rising. Yeah. And it sounds like he's going to play Sunday as well, which is good news. Oh man, I like that Quandre Diggs. And I think, Matt Stafford's playing, he might have another pick, because he knows that Stafford well. And, having played on the same team, and Stafford has the ability to kind of like make a dumb throw where the safety is baiting him. I'd really like to see that. I want to see a Quandre Diggs pick six. He's got to have one this season. That would just kind of put the cherry on top. Yeah, I also I was reading this. So Bobby Wagner has the most tackles in the NFL right now, but what I didn't know, and I just found out today, Jordan Brooks is only like 2 slots down from him at number 4.
Jordan Brooks has been like that was a great draft pick.
That finally, I think Jordan Brooks is like, finally we hit on somebody in the draft after like a few years. I'm really excited to see that cat play and see what his development is going to be. I think he's just getting started this season, and he's made some mistakes, particularly in coverage.
His coverage is spotty, but so is Bobby's though.
Right.
That's
totally.
The weakness of the defense right there is the linebackers covering.
The linebacker coverage, absolutely. But I think that's the kind of thing that if he can focus on in the offseason and come back and really elevate his game, I'm excited about that guy. Keys of game, I agree with you, Millie, that if it's going to be, I don't know, 18 guys, is that who's out for the Rams? If it's
25,
good God, literally like half a team. And it turns into backyard football. I think that favors the Seahawks. I mean, that's Russ's game. Unless, the Seahawks fail to adjust, and we know the Rams can put together some good game plans and stuff like that. But this is a foreign game for both teams. These are teams that know each other really well, and now they're in a position of kind of not knowing each other really well now, where all of their game plans have come down to the minutia of, taking advantage of specific players and things like that. I thought the offensive line this past game played well. They gave Russ a lot of time. I thought Waldron called some really nice plays of getting Russ on the run out of the pocket. And it seemed, I would like to have seen the playbook and the game plan. It seemed to me that at times they even baited the defense into collapsing on that pocket until such a time as Russ could run out of it at a perfect moment to get everybody off balance. And then start hitting some of these throws. And if they build on that a little bit, they could have a chance. The Rams defensive line, though, has been very good about containing Russell Wilson in that pocket. But I don't know. Hopefully they have a plan around that. I don't know what to think about this game. I think I hit it pretty good in predictions for last week. What was it, Millie?
You did pretty well. I mean, 27-13.
Yeah, what did I say?
27-13.
Yeah, and what was the score?
What was it? 33-13? Is that right, y'all?
Yeah.
I think so.
Was it 30 or 33?
Again one more time?
It was 33. 33-13.
It was 33-13, and you said 27-13.
I said,
Yeah, I was rooting for Dan to hit it on the nose too.
I was too.
I was too.
Seattle got that final score.
It was 27-13, and I was like, nope, didn't hold. Yep.
Yeah. So what do you say? What I have no idea. I honestly, I have no idea what this score is going to be. I don't know. I'm shooting off the hip here, and I don't know. I'm gonna say I'm gonna give it to my Seahawks. I'm gonna say it's gonna be 21-18. I don't know. I'm
gonna go with 28-20 Seahawks, and I think it's gonna be. I think we're going to be reminded why Shane Waldron's on our team, because I think he's going to want it. I think,
especially against
his old boss.
And his play calling has been improving throughout the season.
Absolutely.
And getting a lot more consistent. Curtis, what say you?
Man, I really want to go with you too. But I really feel like McVay has the blueprint to beat Carroll's defense, and I think Aaron Donald just lives inside of the head of Russell Wilson on game day.
Can Aaron Donald go out with COVID, please?
Yeah, no kidding. I think it's going to be, you know what? I think Seattle is going to look like they're going to be able to pull it off, but I'm going to project them to lose a close one. 30-27.
Oh, high scoring shootout.
Yeah, I think they're going to score some points. I just have a feeling.
Yeah. Millie.
Well, I think we're forgetting something that I forgot earlier this season, and Alana got it right when we all got it wrong. And I will recall that we are the Rams kryptonite. So with that in mind, I think the Seahawks do win this game. I don't think it's a super, super high scoring affair. I'm going to go with the under here. I'm going to call it 24-20.
Okay. I like it. Yeah. Good. Well, we'll see come Sunday. I'm a little bit nervous about the game. I wore my DK Metcalf jersey this last game though. And I'm riding it. I got that DK action green for the Rams. So Russ, everything's gonna be okay. I finally figured out the combination of how this team wins, and it's my action green DK Metcalf jersey. So as long as I'm wearing that, I think the Seahawks got a fighting chance. Yeah.
Sleep in that overnight.
I will, yeah.
Bathe in it.
We didn't necessarily hit this prediction when we said we would hit it, but Urban Meyer's out.
I was nervous that it wasn't gonna happen too. I was thinking like, God, they're gonna stick with him down there.
Two notes I have from that. One is that you know who their new head coach is.
Yeah.
Daryl Bevell.
Who's the career interim head coach.
No. Yeah, because this happened last year when he took over for Patricia, right?
Yes, yeah. Exactly.
And then the other thing is, did you read the bit about him kicking his kicker's leg?
Kicking his kicker.
During practice, he was like, don't miss kicks. And I was like, you're 2-11 or whatever the fuck they are.
And the kicker had like the best kicking percentage in Jaguars history.
Right.
Let's be clear. This is Lambeau. Lambeau is a good kicker.
He's a good kicker.
Nobody messes with a kicker's leg. And what I love about this story is all indications are that was the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
That story from Lambeau, who's actually valuable to this team, who's actually that people like. We know there's only a few kickers ever that people really like, and he's one of them. Mm-hmm. So I love that the kicker was what finally took this man down.
I do too. Yeah. God, fucking Urban Meyer. But first of all, like textbook narcissist.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Absolutely. You can see it all over. Nothing's ever his fault. He's a winner. All his assistants are losers.
It's because he beat cancer. And so he thinks that he's invincible. This whole thing, this whole persona that he has is like, I beat cancer. Like, so what? That doesn't make you a good person. You're
still a shitty person.
You're a shitty person.
And wherever he goes, he leaves a team in ruins. If there's any grace in the football world, Urban Meyer will never work again. Unfortunately, I know that's not how it works. And some desperate college team is going to get him back. But God,
that's going to happen. What was
miserable human.
What's weirdly ironic in all of this for me is that apparently Meyer has a great deal of respect for Pete Carroll, like has a huge degree of respect for Pete Carroll. You
can't find opposite coaches.
Oh my God. I mean, he hired like half of his former staff ended up down there. A handful of former Seahawks players have been down there. Right. Like he just felt like, Carroll's culture. So it's like, it's inexplicable to me that he just treated I mean, he just the grotesque, disparaging nature that he puked out in front of his players and his coaches. I mean, he held. I read one report over the weekend where he held a fucking coaches only meeting and basically like ripped into his whole entire coaching staff and told them how much they suck and how much they're losers and how great he is. And they got to start doing their fucking jobs. And it was just like, I mean, leaks happen for a reason. I mean, if people aren't aware of this, I'm just letting you know now. The reason why this stuff is coming out is because there are people in that organization that realized he was like horrendous and like the owner had to act.
Well, and it sounds like their new quarterback wasn't having it either. And
Trevor Lawrence.
And you get like a once in a lifetime talent like that, fucking make him happy.
Absolutely.
I don't. Well, I mean, good for him. It couldn't have happened to a worse person. Yeah. All right. Enough of him. This is something that I was thinking about. This is the complete opposite end of the kind of culture that Urban Meyer set in his club. And that's the Seattle Kraken. And I'm a big fan of Coach Haxtell because he reminds me of Pete Carroll a little bit in the culture that he has built in his clubhouse of closeness and positivity. And, you can see that there are relationships that have been built on that team. Like that team plays for each other and that team cares for each other. There's a fun tradition that the Kraken do after a win, and they let the cameras into the locker room right after a win, where they sit around and they celebrate each other, who was doing well. And they have a pirate hat, a Davy Jones pirate hat, and they'll pass it to the player they think deserved it in that game, kind of like the game ball or the game puck or whatever. And you can see the just the love that team has for each other. And I started to think about this, where this team it's not a great team, right? It has a losing record, but it's one of those teams where they can beat the best team in the league, and then they'll drop one to a mid-league team or a bad team, and that's going to happen with an expansion team. But it's a team like the 2010, 2011 Seahawks that were built from a bunch of misfits that had chips on their shoulder. And that's what this Kraken team is. All these players that got sacrificed in the expansion draft, and they're saying, my team didn't think I was good enough. Mm-hmm. And they got drafted by the Kraken. And these talented players who now have a giant chip on their shoulder. All they're missing is one playmaker who can take control of the game. They need the Russell Wilson. And I think once the Kraken can find that guy, it's game over, or until Philip Grubauer actually starts playing like the goaltender we paid him money for. Right now he's playing like the worst in the league, when the season before he was like one of the best in the league. And I don't know if he's in a slump or what's happening. It's still very early in the season.
Defense be in front of him too.
That has a lot to do with it, where the Kraken can they'll be on the game plan and they'll have great puck control, and then they'll make a mistake. And this just happens because they don't have chemistry. They'll make a mistake. The puck doesn't go where they thought it was or where the other guy thought it was going to be. And then it gets intercepted, and all of a sudden it's a 2-on-1, and a goaltender's not going to be able to, save a goal on something like that. So a lot of goals you can't necessarily just pin on Philip Grubauer, but I also don't think that you can just entirely say that it's the Kraken defense fault.
Sure. And it's just a contributing factor when you come where he was playing last year in Colorado. They had like 2 top of the like Norris
100%
defensemen, and that allowed him to save the shots he was meant to save.
Yes,
and succeed in that scenario.
There's also, the goaltender has to build chemistry with the team. So, there's a lot that goes into hockey where, if a defensive man is posted up in front of the goaltender, maybe he's being screened and now Philip can't see where the puck is coming from and stuff like that. That's all stuff that I think will get worked out. The other thing that reminds me of Pete Carroll with Coach Haxtell on the Kraken is that he likes to play a defensively tough game, control the pace of the game with like slow and deliberate, and play it close. And he's literally said that he likes to play close games. And I was like, well, okay. I mean, is that why we brought him in? Because this guy is the hockey equivalent of Pete Carroll.
Well, Todd Lewicki was a part of the Seahawks. He was the main guy that brought in, Pete Carroll. That got him, that got Paul Allen interested in Pete Carroll in the first place. So
it makes so much
maybe
sense.
This is the Lewicki sort of vision.
Yeah, it's so funny. And then listening to the hockey people talk about it, they kind of hate the style of play that Haxtell likes his players to play because it slows things down and there's not a lot of shot attempts and it's not like a fast-paced game of guys skating up and down the ice. He kind of likes to get it slogged up in the neutral zone until they can get like a good look and then skate into their offensive zone and get some shots. But I'm a defensive guy, so I like watching some good defensive games, whether it's hockey or football.
Teams.
I like. There's something about his look and his swagger and intensity as a coach that I'm really into. Like
I am too.
Oh, okay.
And every time
we're gonna play for that guy.
Yeah. And good or bad, whatever happens, the camera always hits him on the sideline and he has the same just neutral expression on his face with his arms
crossed. He's got
this
stoic thing,
Yeah, totally. Nothing phases him. But I like that. I don't know. I like that.
Looks like Matthew Modine.
Yeah. He's also just like this is the most Canadian team I think I've ever seen.
Seriously.
The camera like gets in the locker room and it's like, in a football locker room, everybody's like popping open the champagne bottles and Pete Carroll's, like rah-rahing them up and everybody's like, rah. The camera gets into the Kraken right after the game and they're kind of like half dressed and they're all just sitting around the locker room with the beers in their hand and they're just sitting there. They're not like celebrating or anything. They're sitting there and they're like, Haxel will be like, all right. And we got Groovy, you had a good game. Yeah. And Groovy's like, yeah, everything went well. The boys are doing good.
It was a beauty, eh?
Yeah, it was good. You got Larson over there. That was a very nice game, eh? And it's like, it's all just like super chill, super low key. I don't know. I dig it. I
caught the Sharks game this week and that was a really fun game to watch. I mean, we won, but it was
and had some nice offense.
But that was one of those games where you can feel those sparks where people are really playing with each other, that you can tell they're starting to feel each other and anticipate and work together more, because so often, I mean, the goalie's not alone. And a lot of those goals that I've seen on Grubauer, he's trying to block this way. There's no help.
Totally. So or he'll get like, he will block it. And then there's the rebound and nobody is on his right side. And you can't ask a guy go from like corner to corner that quickly. You need Larson to blow up the dude on that other side or whatever.
So I understand why people aren't as excited about him as they thought they might be. But I don't know that much about hockey, but when I've watched him, he's exciting. He's made some amazing saves. And
he's made some amazing saves. He's made a lot of saves where I go, oh, that's why we brought him in.
Right.
And again, it's very early in the season. it's like saying, oh, well, Russell Wilson's quarterback rating is only 93, and it's like the third game in the season. You know what I mean? Like, at a certain point halfway through the season, that quarterback rating is probably going to get up to like 103. I feel the same way about Grubauer. His save percentage might be 88% right now. It's not going to stay that way. I'm sure the save percentage is going to come up to, somewhere close to 91% by the time this season is over. And as this team gets to know each other, all the same, exciting team to watch. No expectations, it's an expansion team. So I'm having fun. What else I had fun with? I just watched the newest episode of Hawkeye today, right before we hopped on here. And first of all, I have two things that I want to say. There were two things that excited me in this episode. Number one, the scene with Florence Pugh and Haley.
That was the best.
Number one, I have a giant crush on Florence Pugh, like just an obscene crush on Florence Pugh.
Mine might be bigger. So.
I thought too, the way like that hairstyle was just like, oh my God, you look so good.
Oh, and the accent. She just carries it so well. She's just a fantastic actor.
But like, those are like two of the best actors, the top two actors of that generation, right there in this.
Totally on this
show. They're both Oscar nominees, and they're both 25.
Incredible. And on a superhero TV show streaming on the Disney streaming. I thought it was lovely, and I look forward to seeing how that relationship builds between who's obviously going to be the new Black Widow in the Avengers, and who's obviously going to be the new Hawkeye in the Avengers, and how this relationship between these two characters is going to develop. But then, long awaited, we find out the big bad
spoilers. Saw it coming a mile away.
I did too.
I think we may have even said something a couple weeks ago, but I'm not sure we said it on air.
I'm just happy.
Super excited when it happened, and we got my man Vincent D'Onofrio coming in as the Kingpin and naming him the Kingpin, which is something they never did in Daredevil, and that was great. Oh, and of course, which we also saw coming, I think, but Kate Bishop's mother as also a bad guy, or at least conspiring with the bad guys. I had a great time. That's why I watch these stupid TV shows.
Next week's episode concludes it too, right?
Yeah.
They're gonna that one's gonna have to pull out all the punches, and
I hope it's a long episode. We've got a lot to wrap up.
Like that cannot be like a 45-minute episode. And
I felt like this last episode, while entertaining, and that scene between Kate and Yelena was crackling like the entire time. Every other part of it for me fell a little short because it was a lot of one-on-one conversations that people had in rooms. There was like some fighting, but it wasn't that creative fighting that has been like sparked through so much of it. And like, I felt like it for me, it lacked oomph. And so you had that one scene that was just crackling. And then you had the really weird way that Jack acted when he was being arrested.
I know, yeah.
Like, I was like, what?
Which I kind of love that in a way, because it was odd. And I'm just kind of going like, what is up with this?
It felt unmoored. And then you had the fact that she showed back up and just like, by matching Clint stride for stride, he accepted her back as a full team member. Like, that was it. There was no like, he'd spent all that time building up that acting energy, just be like, get, go on, get, I don't love you anymore. At the end of the last episode, and like really strained the boundaries of what Jeremy Renner could do. And then like all of a sudden she comes back and he's like, what's up? We're planning it now together. There was no coverage of that.
Here's where I would
let's take an Uber ride and talk. Yeah.
I would disagree with you on that, in that she saved his life. He was absolutely done. He had nowhere else to go. Here comes the death blow.
Yeah.
He was there. And she filled that role in the place where he used to have a partner who would show up in that moment.
But he needed to say that. That needed to be said.
Was enough for me.
I don't know.
Okay. I could see why you would miss it for sure. Why you wanted that moment and you didn't get it.
Right. It felt like if you're gonna make Jeremy Renner act that hard so visibly, then like let's have some a backup to it, because he can't. He's not a good actor.
My watch is just telling me to take a moment of mindfulness, so I need to step away.
So I wanted to call out, actually, for me, one of the biggest moments for me that's sticking with me is actually the very, very beginning of the episode.
I was going to say this too. Yes.
And, I wasn't 100% sure, timeline wise where we were in this opening scene. And Elena goes into the bathroom and the blip happens. And partially because member of the 12's number one super fan, super sister, Mandy, is on my mind. Today is her big 50 birthday. I'm missing her like crazy this week, my sister. So the first thought that went through my head is she doesn't know about her sister. Mm-hmm. And it broke me. I'm sitting next to the hubs and there's just tears, and I can tell he's like, I don't understand what just happened. What's happening? What happened just now? And it's because that's where it took me. And I love anything that can tap into me emotionally in a way that I'm not expecting to relate to. And just that sudden idea of anytime they've done things with the blip where I realize what a person is about to run into with knowledge, or having lost all this time, or getting someone back or not getting someone back. And all of that emotionally to me is so fascinating, but it just hit home for me, like how absolutely devastating, because I did really like the Black Widow movie and I loved their relationship. So I was very tuned into that. So to start the episode there was like, oh, okay, I like this show. Where are we going now?
Yeah,
I'm into it.
I loved we've never really seen the point of view of a character directly after coming back from the blip.
That was so cool.
That fear and confusion, it actually hit for me. I was like, oh shit, like, yeah, that is what it would feel like if you were to suddenly, like, because you don't know, these people don't know that they disappeared and then lost 5 years, and they, suddenly the world around them is different. I that sent me into a million different thought experiments that it kind of tickled a thing in my brain. I also had this thought, which is like, it opens up with that cold open and it's like 2018. And I was like, okay, 2018, so where in the MCU is this? And I was like, can you just like, I don't know, MCU, don't give me a year. Give me like the bookend the movies for me. Like, we are between this movie and this movie, and that's going to be way more for me. But yeah
And I think they tried a little bit with the voiceover to kind of lead you into this is after Black Widow. But I wasn't 100% sure where the blip was. I was pretty sure that's where we were, but I'm with you.
I wasn't either. I was like, 2018, is that pre-blip, post-blip, where are we? Yeah. Good stuff though. Also, unless anybody else have any thoughts they want to share on Hawkeye.
I think it's the second best Disney Plus series that they've had.
I'm having a great time. Yeah,
I think it's super fun. It's my favorite one.
Is that after Mandalorian?
No.
Okay.
You're asking me about Star Wars? No.
Oh wait, what was I thinking? Never mind.
Careful
What's
now.
the number one for you? Oh,
no,
Loki.
let's bring no. Come on, let's bring the Mandalorian into the MCU.
Well, no, the comment was Disney Plus.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, I meant the Marvel shows on Disney Plus.
Right. I should have realized right away. We had this.
Alana's a Loki fan.
Yes, Loki.
Yes, very much so.
Loki's our jam.
Yeah.
It's one of my top 5 series of the year. So, along with a series that ended on Sunday night.
This is what I was going to get to because I loved it. First of all, the third season of Succession, I started a little slow. I think, I don't know if it started slow. It just, it didn't have the family dynamics. It got mired in the plot a little bit.
Right.
The final 3 episodes finally got a little more into the family dynamics. The final 3 episodes of Succession of the third season might be like the best 3 episodes of the entire series.
I think it's 3 or 4 because the 8th episode for me didn't land for a couple of reasons. Some really like imprecise writing, based on the fact that they were calling Caroline's new husband the Onion, and then there was because his last name is Munyon, and then there was a conversation between Shiv and Caroline where she referred to her as her onion, and it was like you're using the same metaphor and I'm having a tough time understanding who you're talking about, and it was imprecise writing. So that really took me out of it, and there were a couple of other little moments like that in that second to last episode. The last scene of it was excellent, but for me it goes back to the episode where they're picking the president and Tom's monologue where he says, Kendall, I've never seen Logan get fucked, and you're just getting fucked a lot.
Yeah.
And like that's fan for me. I agree that 3 or 4 of those are the best they've ever done.
Yeah. Yeah. And the scene with the 3 siblings, Shiv, Kendall, and Roman, when Kendall breaks down and just like sits into, that Italian dirt and breaks down and confesses. Murder is a strong word. It's not a murder, neglect. I don't know, but that waiter.
I think that Millie's trying to avoid spoilers.
Oh shit! Well, all right. Cover the ears up. Yeah. I won't say too much. Just to say,
it was
the acting was phenomenal. Yes. The acting was phenomenal from all 3 of them, and Jeremy Strong deserves an Emmy.
So does Matthew McFadden.
Whose character starts out as kind of bumbling comic relief and turns into something way more poignant. Yeah.
I also want to quickly sell Station 11 started today on HBO Max. This picture is from Station 11, the book. So that's why it's my background. And we watched the first episode. And if you liked The Leftovers, it's from somebody who worked heavily on The Leftovers, was one of the primary writers for that. If you like Atlanta, it's directed largely by Hiro Murai, who directed a lot of series of Atlanta. He's got a really nice touch with magical realism in terms of how he directs. The opening episode I thought was it takes place during a pandemic that wipes out most of humanity. So if you can deal with that, but there's a lot of brightness, there's crispness, there's joy, there's moments of fear that you feel safe in. And by all accounts, it's one of the best shows of the year. So I'm really looking forward to getting into it.
I was going to ask about it because I couldn't sleep last night and actually watched it. And I have not read the book. I had so many people who have mentioned it and said, have you read the book? I'm like, no. And about halfway through, I was like, am I wishing I read the book, or is it good that I haven't read the book? Because I am, and I'm not lost, because I feel like this is all very purposeful and purposefully paced. But I almost feel like I should know more, but I'm trying to be patient with where this all is going.
Appreciating the fact that Beth has read the book and is filling me in on beats where she feels like she's like, oh, that's a great casting choice because in the book, and I'm finding that really valuable, but also not necessary.
Okay.
Yeah. Curtis, you got anything else you're dorking out about?
Still piecemealing my way through the Beatles Get Back thing.
Oh yeah.
They've moved to Apple Studios now. They're Apple Studio. They were in this crappy place trying to record these songs. It's enjoyable. I'm a huge Beatles fan. It's amazing that they did so, like all the songs that ended up on their last couple albums, Abbey Road and the Let It Be album. They recorded live, played together in studio. There was no dubbing over, nothing fancy schmancy. They just rehearsed the shit out of it and played, and it's impressive to watch all that footage of them doing it. They were true artists. If you going back into last week's episode podcast of ours, when you said you were curious about watching artists do their craft, I mean, it just doesn't get any better than watching them do that.
I think
if you're not a huge Beatles fan, it's probably not your thing, but I am, so I'm really digging it.
I think we take their genius for granted a little bit.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. I mean, you think about like how they reshaped and changed popular music, specifically popular rock and roll music.
Yeah.
It never really, there was never ever that band that came out and it's just like, oh my God, the sound is like new. Like the achievements in which they did from like 1967 to 1969, it was just, it's enormous sweeping acts. And I mean, for me, I mean, I can remember, I mean, I'll date myself, I'm 52 years old, so I was a senior in high school when Appetite of Destruction came out, and with the Guns N' Roses album, and it sounded unlike any other sort of hard rock 80s sort of style album, and that felt pretty revolutionary. And then a few years after that, in 91, Nevermind came out. And it was just like, what the fuck is this? So there's been a few moments where I've just, it's always, I always just circle back to the Beatles. I mean, I think the Beatles.
I do think we have to hold space for the fact that the Beatles did steal their music from Black artists and manipulate it and turn it into something else. They stole their music from Indian artists, especially in the later years. And I think we have to remember that. I'm not saying that they're not geniuses, and I'm not saying that they didn't do something interesting with that music, but they are built off the backs of the work of a lot of artists of color who don't get any kinds of
credit.
Didn't
get the credit. Yeah.
I mean, if you listen to Paul McCartney's style, he tried to capture his best Little Richard as much as possible, with all the little sort of noises he'd kind of throw in and stuff. But I mean, I think you can pretty much make the argument that like, Led Zeppelin stole from Black blues.
Oh, I'm not making that argument. I mean, like Led Zeppelin did. Elvis is the worst of them.
Elvis is the worst of them all.
But that's essentially what rock and roll became, though, right? Rock and roll took Black music, and
But that doesn't mean you can't approach it. That you shouldn't approach it critically with that lens. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they're not geniuses. I'm not saying that they didn't contribute broadly to the culture. I'm saying that the reason that we accepted them and not another artist is because they were white and cute and from Britain and had a specific perspective going forward. But there are other artists who are just as talented and just as much geniuses that never made any indentation into the broader culture because of their color.
Yeah.
So that's true. Yeah, that's just something I think we should remind.
Okay.
I've put Curtis into his meditation pose.
Yeah, I got to go back into it.
He got another mindfulness alert.
He's like a 2-inch head in the corner of a screen for those who are just listening.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Okay. Read Curtis's blog, 12life.com. He has to write a whole new one because Tyler Lockett had to go and get that COVID. So I think Curtis is spending the rest of the night rewriting a blog.
I'm going to watch more about these limeys stealing from Black artists from like East India. And
yeah.
You can still like the music. I'm not saying you're a racist for liking the music.
That's all right. We'll move along.
Curtis, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna be here every Friday for at least the next few weeks. I don't know. We'll see. You know, things are always changing. We're a new podcast. My name is Daniel. For Alana, Curtis, Millie, the rest of 12, saying goodbye and go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Peace.